regardless. And let's continue with the funny cars. Chuck Etchells on the line, ready to go.
And the body is up, Big Daddy. What are they doing on the Etchells car?
Maynard Jenks is making some fuel adjustments. They run a little different fuel mixture for the burnout than they do for the actual race, and now they're putting it in the race mode. Well, Gordon Mineo in the near lane, their opponent, he is ready to go as he moves towards the starting line. For Gordon, this has been the worst and best of seasons. He had a runner-up finish in Houston, then melded a car to the ground in Seattle. Chuck Etchells, 2 wins this year. He beat Wyatt Radke in round number 1 with a 5.27 second elapsed time. Every car left in funny car competition is a potential winner. They are all killer cars with great performances from the earlier rounds. And you know, Steve, these cars have much more difficulty getting a hold of the track. It's much more of a problem to get the clutch right because of the short wheelbase. Oh, they both hook up here. Mineo trying to catch Etchells, and he cannot do it. Chuck Etchells, a sensational performance. 5.18 seconds at 282 miles an hour. Mineo trails at a 5.44. So Chuck Etchells advances. He is still in the thick of this points fight.
And now John Force knows he needs to pick up those 200 points, advance to the next round, because Cruz Pedrecon just beat Gary Bolger. He is closing in on the top spot. It's held by Force.
Something else, Joel. John Force is set back there in the staging lane. Watch the 2 cars in front of him, Pedrecon and Etchells, go 5.18 in that lane. He knows he can really stand on it.
But John has got some tough competition. Don't undersell Johnny West, a true hot rodder. He can build an entire car, the engine, the chassis, the body, everything. A real throwback to the days when everybody did that. John Force has 4 wins this year. He beat Englishman Norm Wilding in round 1 with a fairly conservative 5.22. Now, Johnny West out of Phoenix, Arizona, he beat Tom Hoover with one of his best ones ever, a 5.29.
And Steve, that's only 7/100ths off the elapsed time of John Force. So John Force is going to have his hands full here. And before we see the race, let's meet with the winner from the last one.
Chuck Etchells says, Cruz, I'll see your 5.18 and match it. Wow, to the thousandth.
Is that right? Yeah. How about the mile-an-hour difference, Steve?
He is going to have lane choice based on his 289.
Well, I think Maynard Jenks is about good enough where it probably doesn't really matter a whole lot. And we're just happy to be there. Indy's the biggest race of the year. I mean, what can you say about it?
I think that will be the race of the year when you two get together.
Well, let's hope we win it.
Chuck Etchells is ready. He's on his way to the semifinals. Now will John Force make it to the semifinals, going up against Johnny West?
Every racer will tell you, including John Force, you try not to race the other car. You try to race the clock and the track, but you can't do it. Not when you're as emotional as John Force, but John's got a huge lead over Johnny West. John Force, his second consecutive 5.22 second elapsed time at a speed of 274 miles an hour. John Force, though, may have to step it up for the next round. Let's go to Don Garlett's with his crew chief, Austin Coyle.
Austin, I got to ask you, you look up there at the board and you see the 2 cars in front of you run 5.18. Does it just let you know there's plenty of track out there and you can really get after it?
Well, it certainly does, but we tend to not try to play it too close to the edge, as that cost us the race 2 weeks ago.
And Austin Coyle is referring to that race a couple of weeks ago in Brainerd, where they smoked the tires in round number 2. Cruz Pedrecon went on to win that race and continued to close in on John Force in the season-long point standings. Well, they both pick up victories in round number 2, moving on to the semifinals. And let's head back to the starting line for our next race.
And you're looking at Chuck Worsham, a truly gifted crew chief, lining up his son, Del Worsham, one of the bright young drivers in the sport. And they are up against a real toughie in Al Hoffman. Hoffman over on the far side, that is his wife, Helen, who contributes so much to this team. And there is Tom Anderson, their crew chief, who has led this team to 3 national event wins this year and picked up $50,000 yesterday in the Big Bud Shootout. His opponent is just 22 from California, Del Worsham. You saw him as runner-up to Chuck Etchells earlier this year on NBC Sports at the Summer Nationals. All right, Worsham in the near lane, Hoffman in the far lane. Big Daddy, I don't think there's a lane advantage, do you?
No, sir. Both lanes have equal traction. You can smoke the tires in either lane.
Everybody is essentially on the same racetrack then. Okay, Hoffman is ready. Worsham is in. Like Hoffman won? No. Back at the starting line in his lane on the electronic Christmas tree blows the red light. That means it. He moved too quickly, trying to get a starting line advantage. The tree caught him. Hoffman is disqualified. Worsham wins it at 5:32.
And we have our semifinal pairings now in the funny cars. Del Worsham against John Force. Force will have lane choice. And the other semi, it's Cruz Pedregon and Chuck Etchells. Pedregon will have the lane choice, but just barely in that matchup.